time you see this video, if this video goes out, that means I'm cleared and I'm healthy. It means that I have successfully survived the coronavirus. What a sentence. 2020, 2020. Hello, welcome. If you are new here, my name is Belle, and everybody calls me Bells. Well, not everybody, only my friends, but I mean, you guys could call me it too if you're my friend, because you know. Okay, anyways. So where do I even begin? First of all, can we talk about this lighting? I finally got a ring light. I finally was like, girl, you need to do something about that lighting. I did something about that lighting. So as you can tell, I'm so much better. You can hear it in my voice a little bit. For these past few weeks, you know, that I've been dealing with this, I've felt like very disconnected everywhere, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Like I just haven't felt like I was on the same page in every aspect of myself. And today me levanté and I was like, ooh, what's up? Your girl's back. I'm literally all over the place more than like I normally am. So very quick disclaimer before we get into everything. I'm not a doctor. Are you done? I'm literally going to talk only about my experience and my experience only. This is what happened to me. Everybody is different. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's body, everybody body. Basically my story, I got coronavirus and this is what happened to me. Also, if I laugh about it or smiling, it's not because I'm not taking this seriously. Obviously, I know the gravity of the situation because I have lived through it. Because my mood is so good, you know, it might seem like I'm coming off like, oh, I'm not taking this seriously, but I swear to you, I am. First of all, let's talk about myself, like just in general, because I think that's important. You know, like I said, the virus is gonna attack you differently. I really think depending on who you are. So I am 22 years old and I'm very like an active person. Like I'm always out and about. I live a fairly active lifestyle, not like super like, you know, but like, you know what I mean? I like to be out there. So I think that helped a lot, you know, just being what you would call healthy for all intents and purposes, you know, like for the most part. And the reason I like to mention this is because going through it, I can definitely see where as a person with pre-existing conditions, or just in general, a person who's not in the best, you know, health mode, health-wise, I can see where the coronavirus could definitely cause serious problems. I always knew I was gonna get it. Every fall, strep throat goes around, the flu goes around, like, you know, all of those common illnesses go around, and I get them every year. Every year I get the strep. Every year, sometimes twice a year. I work with kids, so that has a little bit to do with it. That has a little to do with it. That has a little to do with it. You know what I mean? So I have a very delicate immune system. We won't even get into it, but you know, as healthy as I think I am, I get sick fairly easily. So when I had seen this, I kind of knew I was gonna get it, because the only way, and I'm just being real, the only way to not get this is literally if you don't go out and stay like hermited into your little home, like, because it's everywhere now. So today is my day 13. Obviously I don't know when it started. I don't know when I got it. There's like no point where I can say like this is it, but there is one day 13 days ago where I remember waking up and I had a sore throat. That's the first day that I remember like, okay, something is going on. Here is the thing, is that I don't know where it came from. I have absolutely no idea. Could have been at the store, could have been during one of my workouts, could have been hanging out with my family, it could have been hanging out with one friend. You can still follow the regulations of being in a room or in a group of less than 10 people, but those people have been around their group of less than 10 people, and those people have done that, and their people have done that. So essentially, again, there's like really no way to avoid it at this point. So I honestly have no clue where it came from. So okay, let's get to kind of like my timeline. So essentially they group your symptoms and your like coronavirus time of 2 weeks, basically saying like you have this 2 week period where you either get better or you get worse. I'm on day 13, which is why I'm very hopeful and excited that I'm like out, but I'm not quite out, so I'm not trying to jinx anything. If you see this video, it means day 1. I woke up and I had a sore throat. And so I was like, little suspicious, you know, like I have a sore throat, you know. That day, I ended up going to the beach, and where I live, the lake is very cold. So I also thought like maybe that's it, you know, like maybe it's just really cold and I got a cold, and you know, like también, you know, no me tapé el pecho, you know, with so many reasons. Like I didn't really think anything of it. Well, that day that we had gone to the beach, the whole day, we were literally out all day. It was my friend's birthday. We ended up going to sushi like after, and this was like in the night. We spent like 2 hours at sushi, and it, just in general, like I like to pride myself, this que yo, you know, like on my energy level. I just can go for days. I can just go for days. I can just, you know, boop, 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 boop. Back then, like I just remember like I was looking at my friends and they were so energetic. My friend had rented a room out, like we were gonna keep drinking, like all of these things. And I just remember looking at my friends, and mind you, my friends are older than me. And I was just looking at them like, how are you guys not tired? I'm usually the one who's like, yeah, let's do this. And you know, like, boo, 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 boo. And I was just like, I ended up going home after sushi and passing out. Like, I did not do anything that night. I couldn't do anything that night. I just remember feeling just like very sick. Because I knew something was up, luckily I did not speak to or see my family. Like I didn't go visit them because I just knew. And my mom had just had surgery, so you know, and she's just very delicada. Even if it's a common cold, I don't want to get my mommy sick, you know, like just being very precautious. Wednesday, I don't really remember Wednesday. I was just really sick and unenergetic, and that's when I started feeling mood changes. So symptom number 1 that I like to remember, sore throat. Symptom number 2 is my mood. Starting that Wednesday, I woke up bien malhumorada, but it wasn't until Thursday afternoon. I just remember waking up and I felt really hot, and I had checked my temperature. I had a fever. Then I would pass out and wake up. I'd pass out and wake up. Every time I woke up, my fever would just be higher and higher and higher until I hit 100.8. And that's when I was like alarmed, like, okay, my brain is gonna melt. Because I didn't want to go straight to the hospital, because you know, if I didn't have the coronavirus and I went to the hospital, I was probably gonna get it, because you know, the hospital is probably filled of people who are going through this virus. I ended up calling the ER and I was like, hey, is there any way, or is there anybody I can speak to about my symptoms and then see if I should go to the hospital or not? And they're like, yeah, there's this nurse hotline, go ahead and call them. I called the nurse, I told her what I was feeling. Symptom number 3. Oh god, this is a very intimate moment, guys. Look at that. You can still see it. Do you guys see all those little bumps? This is not natural to me. Ooh. I don't have it on my other side, and I only have it up to here, like this chest area. This is a rash that I didn't even notice. Like, it's not painful at all. As you can tell, it's not red. It's been like this since my visit to the hospital. That's when I noticed. I think I had it even before then. I told her that, you know, like I have a headache, I have this weird rash, I have a sore throat since Monday, I can't focus, I'm feeling really like upset, like enojada, like but I told her, you know, I told her all my symptoms. I was like, do you think I should go? Oh, and I told her like I have 100.8 fever, and I told her all my symptoms. She's like, yeah, go in, something's up. So I went in and I told them, and they had me, you know, I don't know about your local hospital, but they go ahead and have you like sit outside so that you're not in the waiting room, you know, like, you know, infecting the otra pobre gente, you know. And I was sitting outside, and it actually felt nice, you know, like it was super cold, but I just was sitting outside and I was just crying, and I just felt like so sad. I was just not okay. And the nurse came out, and she was like in full PPE, like all that protection. She looked like a little balloon, like she was just ready. The consultation was like towards the end, and I was like, am I gonna get tested for COVID? And she was just like, why would we test you? And I was like, because you know, like I have symptoms. And she's just like, oh, she's like, well, have you been in contact with anybody that has COVID? And I was like, well, not that I know of, but I mean, like, it's everywhere, you know what I mean? So I felt a little bit like I had to convince her, and maybe it's just because there's not many COVID tests, or I don't know, but I felt like I kind of had to convince her. She finally ended up testing me. And for those of you who haven't been tested, essentially they just take a very long swab and they insert it up your nostril, and they like pretty much, it feels like they touch your brain. It's super uncomfortable. For me at least, it wasn't painful. It was just more like, ugh, like get out. And she like swabbed one side for like 5 seconds, and then she swabbed the other side for like 5 seconds, and then she like pulled it out, and that's when I started crying, because you know, like initial reaction. 14 seconds total, and then she puts it in a tube, sends it out to the facility. The reason they let me go that night is because all of my vital signs were perfect. I was in perfect health, except for the fact that I had coronavirus and I had a really high fever. But other than that, so she sent me home and she said, well, you should self-quarantine until you get your results back. She said it's gonna take about 3 to 4 days, but it could take up to 7 days. So I was like, oh wow, you know, so for the next 3 days, I have to quarantine. Fast forward to the next day. That's right, the next day. I had told my family and close friends about what was going on. I said, hey, like, guess what? You know, I'm feeling really sick and this and that. And so they were like, oh, well, don't leave your house just in case. They're like, we'll take you anything you need. So a friend had actually just called me like, hey, I'm outside dropping your things off, when I receive a phone call. I could kind of tell the medical lines, if that makes any sense, because again, I'm like allergic to everything. I'm very delicate. I'm in good communication with my clinic or whatever. So I kind of like recognized the number, and I was like, hold on, let me call you back. Hello. And it was this man, it was this doctor man, and he was just like, hi, you came in yesterday to test for COVID. As soon as he said that, I knew it was gonna be positive. The nurse that had tested me said it was gonna take up to 7 days maybe, and they're calling me the next day. They're not gonna call me and tell me like good things, you know what I mean? So I kind of like was like, yes, I did take a test. And he was like, well, it's positive. My friend is outside. COVID is on the line. What do you do? So I was just kind of like, do you mind actually like holding? I have a friend outside who's like bringing me some sopa maruchan, and I just, you know, can you give me a little moment? And he was super nice. He was like, yeah, of course, I'll hold. I told my friend like, oh my god, I just tested positive, and they thought I was joking, and I was like, no, like I'm dead serious. And se puso la máscara. I was just laughing because I couldn't believe it. Like I was just like, what? Like I have COVID. I was so uncomfortable with the thought, and just in general, like it was just funny to me. Like I have a really big family, you know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people, co-workers, life in general. I was like, I wonder who's gonna be the first person that I know. And of course, the first person that I know is me. So it was just really funny to me. Like I couldn't believe it. So this doctor only called me to basically tell me I've tested positive and I should self-quarantine, and I should contact anybody that I've been, you know, in contact physically with since 2 days before my symptoms started. You know, you should just let them know, hey, guess what? I've tested positive, and you know, you should just be aware, be careful. He was like, if you have a boyfriend, he has the coronavirus or he gave it to you. I was like, well, I don't, so thanks a lot for that, but you know, it's okay. And there was only like 5 people I was concerned about, and it's the weirdest thing, contacting people and being like, hey, guess what? Put the message here of what, like I said, just if you need ideas or help. 101, how to tell your friends you have COVID. After I found out I had COVID, my main and first concern was not infecting anybody else, because if you get COVID, it is not your fault. It's a disease that's going around. Like it's an actual virus that is latching on to humans, trying to survive, you know, like killing people. Like it's an actual thing. All my friends took it really differently, and I didn't realize how divided everybody is until I had to tell friends. Like until I told my friends. I had some friends who were like, oh my god, is there anything I could do for you? Don't go out, you're gonna die, you're gonna kill people. I had one friend who was actually like, do you even believe it's true? And I was like, well, I do feel very, very sick and very bad. I did go to the hospital, I got tested and it came out positive. So I think it's real. Literally had friends on both ends of the spectrum, and I also had friends like all over in between. I liked that I had friends on both ends of the spectrum because it really kept me in the middle. Like, it kept me humble. It kept me in check. I wasn't like too afraid that I was gonna die. You know, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna die. And I also wasn't like, oh, you know, this is nothing. But I definitely did tell my family because my grandma's in town, and if like I said, I can definitely see where if you're young and healthy, this is just a common cold. Like, it literally feels like you have the cold and the stomach flu all together, you know, like, because all of the symptoms are the same. But if you are somebody who had a pre-existing condition like diabetes, heart problems, or asthma or something like that, I can definitely see where it gets complicated, because there was a day where I had chest pains and I wasn't feeling good. This could get serious really fast for somebody who already wasn't in the best health. So those are the people we should be caring about and taking care of. So the next day, the nurse calls me and she basically just let me know what was going on, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. She basically also emails you a list of instructions, so I'll put it here. But that's what she emailed me. I think like the scariest part for me was just like when you get a strep throat, they give you antibiotics and in 7 days you're fine. And for this, it's kind of like stay home, Tylenol and ibuprofen, and then just like, we hope you feel better and we hope you don't get anybody else sick. So day 4 through day 7, I was just really sick, fever. I felt like throwing up, but I never really did. Nausea. I have a lot of nose pain. Day 6, so like a week into it, a week from when I started having symptoms. Something very bad happened, and this has been the worst symptom for me, at least, just for me personally. I lost my sense of smell and taste. It feels like the inside of my nostrils, like my passings, my hallways, I don't know what these are called, right here were like burnt. Your smell affects your taste, so I couldn't taste anything, and I just can't smell or taste, and it's very frustrating. I like to eat for survival, but I also like to eat for taste. This has been the symptom, the one symptom that I can't wait for it to leave. Sore throat, rash, fever, headache. Then I lost my sense of smell. I had been feeling already really crummy, like really weak, fatigued, nauseous, just like off. Then I started having like some stomach issues where like, again, I felt like throwing up, but I never really did. And then like just in general, I didn't have like diarrhea, luckily, or anything. Most of everything was solid, but it was like just very upset stomach. Like my digestive system was definitely off. Most of the time I've spent in quarantine, I've spent sleeping. So fast forward to the now. We are day 13. So again, I'm on day 13, almost 2 weeks. I still have a fat headache. I still have a sore throat, and I still cannot smell anything. My nose is still burnt to a crisp, but I'm starting to feel again aligned and just so much better. Like, I'm starting to feel like myself. Luckily, that's been my experience. The worst days were those 4 days where I had fever and nonstop body aches and pains, and you know, like going through the motions, like when I was deep in it. And then after that, it's just been like gradually declining, you know, like kind of like feel like it's passing through. There's this really big stigma, I think, over anybody who's gotten the virus, of like, oh, they weren't taking care of themselves, oh, they're, you know, this and that. No. How was I supposed to know? Like, I don't even know where I got it from or who gave it to me. Obviously somebody gave it to me, you know, but I don't know who. At first, like, even when I told my dad was just like, that's what you get for not taking care of yourself and this and that. I was like, Dad, I could have gotten it, literally could have gotten it from like a dog. Be very aware if you have a family member that's sick, you know, be there for them. And thanks to everybody who's been there for me. This is when you really know who your real friends are. Like they say that through sickness and in health. But yeah, that's my experience with the coronavirus. I don't recommend, zero recommend. I took a social media break, and I just took a break in general. Like, I only kept essential personnel. Oh, and another thing, this is for the government. I have something to tell you. I have a complaint to file in. Please take notes if you work for the government. stop calling people. I would get like 5 calls a day from like different people. Doctor called me, my hospital called me, some nurses called me, El Dorado called me, the governor called, like, you know, I felt like everybody was just calling me. And yes, I understand it's like an investigation. Basically, they investigate you. Like, they ask you a bunch of questions, like, who were you with, what were you doing, this and that, is there anybody we should contact, this and like all of these things, which, oh, like, I didn't really want to deal with, but I know what the point is, you know, like, this is something serious. So obviously I cooperated and I would answer, but I'm over here like dying, and I was just receiving like 5 calls a day. It's like not it. Leave me alone, but not really, you know. Again, I cooperated it, and I appreciate what these people are doing. Obviously, they don't want to be calling me 500 times, but yeah, like, definitely just be aware of that. I feel so much better. I'm actually like, if you can't tell, like, I feel like my energy level has been like this whole video. Getting into coronavirus is not a bad thing. It's a human thing. If you're a human, you're gonna get sick. Not caring about the coronavirus is a different thing. You should care about it. It is real. I can tell you that because I lived through it. Take it seriously. Like, you know, there's nothing really wrong with wearing a mask. I think masks are cute or whatever. Wash your hands, hand sanitize, be careful, be aware, be very selective. If it would piss you off to get coronavirus from something or someone, then don't do it. I'm serious, because I keep thinking like at least everything I did made sense, and it wasn't like I was just like being super careless and, you know, like YOLO about it. It's just more like, you know, had I known would I have done it? Who knows? But I didn't know, and I did it, and I got it. So que se hace, you know, like, so many what ifs, so many what ifs. I hope you are staying safe. I hope my story helped you. If you are going through the coronavirus right now and you're watching this video to just kind of get my experience, I hope we have similar experiences and it just feels like a really crummy cold and flu put together. I hope you feel better. I hope you're getting better. And, you know, like, here I am passing this really good energy to you. As you can see, I feel a lot better. I feel like myself. I feel like I'm missing a lot of things that I wanted to say. So 2 days after my 2 weeks, I have an appointment with my like primary care doctor, and I think she's basically gonna be the final say, and she's gonna tell me if she thinks I'm in the clear or not. I know that I look fine, and I definitely feel fine and a lot better than I did, but it was scary and it was something serious, and it could have gotten really bad. Luckily, it didn't. If you had COVID and you had similar experience or a different experience, go ahead and let me know. If you want to ask me like any further questions, because I'm sure I missed a lot. Deuces! We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Woo! Woo! Good lighting. This is crazy. This lighting is maybe too good. Maybe I don't like it. Huh.